Hello everyone, Kent Bressler here. I want to welcome you to Kent's Kidney Stories. During our time together over these podcasts, I'd like to discuss kidney disease. I'd like to tell you about my journey as a transplant patient, but also talk about dialysis, kidney donation, and just about anything else that might be of interest. Kent's Kidney Stories, podcast endorsed and sponsored by kidneysolutions.org.
Well, hello everyone out there in podcast land. Kent Bressler here from Kerrville, Texas, and got a very interesting guest today, and we'll talk with her in just a little bit. I wanted to start off with prayer, as you know we always do, and so let's do it. Lord God, you are our strength. Hold your hands and guide us through our weaknesses. Teach our hearts to fly. With you, there's nothing to fear, nothing to worry about. Hold us tight in your embrace, so that we can be strong to meet our challenges. All of this that we ask from you has already been thought about. So we ask it in your name, amen. So wanted to let everybody know my health status is getting much, much better. I've jettisoned the walker. I'm now in a position where I'm walking on my own. And I've gotten 2 good results from the surgical specialist who did my aneurysm. And the neck surgery went really, really well. So I'm 2 for 2, and I got 2 more to go. So just wanted to let you know I'm doing much, much better. Also wanted to let you know that in the near future, I'm going to bring a co-podcaster in with me. His name is Matthew Novelli, and he's a very good friend with mine from here in Texas, and he's been transplanted 4 times, and he wants to try to do some podcasting, and I think would be a wealth of information, so I'm going to do it. I don't know quite when yet, but within the next 2 weeks, I suspect in the next 2 broadcasts, we'll be having Matthew in with us. I also want to thank Julie Hogan for working really hard at making things fly here at Kidney Solutions, and to Shannon Mulroy, who has done the same. They're very good friends, and they've been very, very, very captivating in their response to my call for help, and so we move on. So let's get to the bottom of why we're here today. I want to introduce, my guest, and her name is Jean Sime, like a dime, it's Sime, and she's a transplant recipient like me, and like y'all, if you're listening, and so, like hopefully for some of you that are looking for a donor. Anyway, she's a unique individual, and I can give you a whole background. But I would really rather talk to her and have her tell me her story. I think that's a whole lot easier for it. I do know that she's an award-winning author, and we'll talk about that. She's also a motivational speaker, but she was transplanted in 2009, and so she's got a good. I think that's correct. Is that right, Jean?
19.
2019. So there you go. There's my first mistake of the year. Okay, so welcome, Jean Dime. How are you today?
I'm awesome. Thank you for having me, Kent.
Yeah, we kind of met in a strange way. I was just surfing the net, which I don't do very often, but for some reason God chose me to give you a call. I noticed you were on the somewhere out there in the periphery, and got a hold of you, and you were wanting to do this. So let's get started. So let's give me a little bit of background on your kidney journey.
Okay, sure. So in 2013, I was experiencing the typical symptoms of chronic kidney disease, which I was unaware that I had, including swelling, shortness of breath, um, the metallic taste in my mouth. And through the different doctors, I finally found one that I could trust, and I believed in and followed his instructions. Unfortunately, in 2015, it was inevitable that we would need to start kidney dialysis. And we did go over the different options, but for myself, in-center hemodialysis was the one that made the most sense for me because I was working full time as an officer at a very large major financial institution. Had many employees that were working under me. It was a lot of responsibility, and then life throws you curveballs, things you don't expect to happen. And here I am having to, uh, you know, make some adjustments in my life to include kidney dialysis. So it for me personally, it was a struggle as I was in a funk for about 6 months, I would say.
Oh,
The typical things that us kidney warriors go through, such as denial, such as anger, asking why me kind of a thing, what terrible thing that I do in my life that caused this to happen. I'm a good person. Why do I need to suffer now?
hmm.
So it took me a long time before I could grasp that, you know, thank goodness we have dialysis to keep us alive. And that was a whole process in itself for me to accept that. Going into the dialysis center, if anyone out there, which I'm sure most of your followers are, it's pretty intimidating. And, first of all, you walk in and you see this huge scale in front of you. And you're questioning, oh my gosh, did I take too much fluid in over the weekend? How much are they going to drain out of me? And for me, I was still working full time. I would leave 3 days a week, a little bit early, so I can go for the late shift and do my in-center hemodialysis. And I remembered I was sick the moment I walked into the dialysis center. I
Absolutely.
was still trying to live the best life that I could, right? I was trying not to let this affect things, but the reality is, heck yeah, it affects you. And in the beginning, you're so full of toxins and everything that for me anyway, the dialysis itself helped me. It helped me feel better because it was filtering it. So, even though it was cumbersome with and terrifying with the needles because I had a fistula
Hmm. Yep.
constructed in
Hmm.
advance. That was,
Hmm.
to my doctor's advisement because we needed it to mature, which took about 6 months for me. And if anyone has done in-center hemodialysis using a fistula, it is not fun. It is a lot of sticks and pricks, a lot of blood. Um, it is painful, even though, they offer to give you whatever that cream is to numb it.
Hmm.
I didn't even use the cream at that point. It was just like, you know what, let's just do it.
Get it
And
in
it
there and get her
was
done.
get her done. Yeah. And, you know, luckily, I was in a very good center and they were very caring. The technicians were very caring. The nurses were very caring. I was a very compliant patient. So I think they sort of lean towards the compliant people who don't give them a hard time. And I tried not to give anybody a hard time, even though it's a struggle, being there, you know, and, finding the right person who can get it in, who can plug you in, I called it, on one shot, rather than somebody who has to keep sticking the needle
Jabbing it
in
and
and
jabbing it and jabbing
finding it and jabbing you and
it. Yeah.
jiggling it and all that, which, just adds to everything else that you have to go through. And of course, sitting there and looking at all these sick people, right? I mean, there's different stages. When I walked in, I thought I was the youngest person there. And I wasn't young at that time. I was in my 50s. But I considered myself one of the youngest people there because most of the people that were there were older, from a nursing home, or they had to get transported on a stretcher.
Yeah.
So it was really depressing. And, everyone had different side effects from the dialysis, who was vomiting, who was, having issues, maybe bleeding out, whatever the case. Those are the challenges that they really don't warn you about when you're about to experience dialysis. And for me, as I said, it took me about 6 months before I was able to accept this. And I said, listen, I can I can do this because I have no choice and live miserably, or I can accept it and embrace it and make the best out of it. And thank God that they have this to keep me alive because I wanted to live. And for me, what was therapeutic, every time I walked into the center after I got weighed, I would go to every patient and just wave hello. For
Yeah.
me,
Great.
for me, it was therapeutic because it's pretty lonely in dialysis. And many of the patients, maybe they didn't have family, no one would come visit. It was pretty lonely for 3.5 hours or 4 hours, whatever it was that you were, hooked up to the machine. I was fortunate enough that I made some very, very close friends there. I mean, they're your family. They're your
Oh,
dialysis
yes,
family.
ma'am.
You spent 15 hours, 18 hours a week with them. You get to know people. And if you're fortunate enough that the team lets you sit next to each other so you can actually have a conversation, and entertain each other while this whole process is going on, you're even more blessed, which I was. I was very fortunate. Unfortunately, to this day, out of the five of us, I am the only one that is still here.
Mm.
The other four passed. So when I learned that, that was truly a reality check. It was like, okay, I'm saved for a reason. Why? What is that reason? And
Right.
today I'm still thinking about that. What is the reason? But I think all the little things that I've done since that point have justified that to me personally.
How long were you on dialysis?
I was on dialysis 3.5 years.
Okay.
And as I said in the beginning, I felt so much better
Yes.
afterwards. I was very energetic afterwards. And the longer you're on dialysis, the more it drains you.
Absolutely.
And prior
Absolutely.
to transplant, I have to say, I got to that point where literally I was crawling home. It was that bad that I
Yep.
just felt so washed and drained,
Yep.
like
Yep.
literally sucking the life out of you.
Yep.
Yeah, so I did the best I could. I tried to stay compliant. And as a diabetic, there's always other things that happen, infections and such. So, I had a few complications during that time as well. And of course, you're trying to get well enough, quote unquote, well enough to be approved for the transplant list,
Right. Exactly.
right? So obviously you're sick, but you have to be well enough to get approved,
Yep.
right? To move on. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't have that opportunity, which a lot of folks out there don't understand. They think, okay, you need a kidney, automatically you qualify. No, that is not the case. And in the case
Mm.
of my friends who are no longer with us, they could not qualify for
Right.
it.
Right.
So that's the reality of it that people don't understand.
You mentioned just in your talk here about the fact that you got to you have to embrace it. Okay. It is a bridge. All right.
Hmm.
It is not, it's not a cure, nor is a
Correct.
transplant a cure.
Correct.
Okay. But at least with the transplant and some longevity, you're untethered. You don't have to go that 3 days a week or get uh, into going and doing it at home alone or whatever. I think your course has been really beneficial for you. Okay. And I think it's wow, it's, you have to bend. When you have kidney disease, you have to bend. If you don't bend, you can really force yourself into a place you don't want to go and you don't want to
Exactly.
be
And
there.
that's what was happening. And I didn't want that.
Yes, and I noticed that with you when I haven't read all your books, or I took a look at a couple of them, but I'm going to tell you the most important thing here is how you got to transplant. All right, because what we do at Kidney Solutions, we're really working hard to get preemptive transplant as a number one priority. And I
Yeah.
know if you look back, if you could do that, there may have been some things you could have done to find that donor right off the get go. All right, as
Mhm.
quickly as possible. Use that time that you were waiting for your fistula to, that's 6 months, right?
Yes.
All right.
Yes. Yeah.
And so that's when donor searches or when that's the
Right.
most important time to have a mentor. You're a mentor yourself. Realize that how important it is to have somebody pick up the phone and call and say, "Hey, this ain't working. What do I need to do?"
Yeah.
You need a
Yeah.
guider. You need a
Yeah.
mentor.
And
And
I
that's
didn't
what we're
have
doing.
that. I
Huh?
mean, back then, I mean, it wasn't that long ago, about 2013. I wasn't even thinking about living donation at that point. I was still in my denial funk or whatever we
Oh
want
yeah,
to
no,
call it.
that's
I
true.
just,
No,
right.
true.
I
True.
wasn't really understanding what was happening. I wasn't processing what was happening. I didn't
Right.
really look to that point. I was just looking at the moment,
Right.
So I would definitely agree with what you're saying about the preemptive, because that was a whole time span that I could have been proactive
Absolutely. Absolutely.
and
But that's
started
not on you.
searching.
That's
Yeah.
not on you, Gene. That's on the community. Someone should have been able within your circle at the time, your nephrologist or somebody in
Hmm.
that nature could have said, "Hey, do you have anybody that you have any brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers, what who would be willing to donate to you?" That conversation doesn't come up. It's more of a let's race towards dialysis than it is let's race towards a living donation.
Right.
That's what's got to
Well,
change.
the kicker to that one is I did have my sister offer.
Uh-huh.
And I don't remember at what point that was. I think I was on dialysis at that point.
Oh my. Yeah.
And for my own personal reasons, I just couldn't accept that, because my worst fear was if something happened to her during the surgery and I survived, how am I going to live?
Yeah, there's a wealth.
Yes,
You
yes.
know now
So,
there's a ton of those. Oh, gee whiz,
yes,
she could get killed. I could, she could get killed in a car accident and all. There's all kinds of things that come into your
it
mind.
sure is. But at that point, you're so overwhelmed.
Well, you're sick.
Yeah,
People don't
exactly.
realize that. I mean,
Yeah,
you have to accept sickness at some point, don't you? I mean, you have to
yeah,
say, well, this isn't me.
yeah. And I have to say that my dialysis center, as great as they were, they did not encourage me or talk to me about living donation.
Well,
They were pressuring me more on PD
yeah,
than
let's do it at home.
anything,
Or yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
Than
yeah,
anything. So
yeah.
I got to the point that I had to finally say to them that
Stop.
if you, exactly, I said, this is the method that I choose. This is the best for me, my lifestyle. I know what I can do at home and what I can't do, and that is not an option. So you guys are stuck with me. It's almost as if they were getting paid to
Oh,
get their
yeah.
their patients on PD, get them off of the machine so they can bring more people on.
Right. There's too many people. When they're doing 3 shifts and 7 days a week and stuff.
Oh yeah.
I understand the
Yep.
money option here. I
Oh
get it
yeah.
because it's all
Yeah.
for profit. Let's not
Yeah.
get off on that bunny trail. But
Oh
let's
yeah. That's a
I
whole other
just want you,
conversation. Yeah.
yeah, that's a whole nother conversation. But I
Yeah,
do
because
know
I've seen the
exact,
bills. I saw
exact,
the bills from Medicare.
exactly.
And I'm
Ex-
like, oh my gosh, for whatever it was, I forget how much it was a month. It was like over $1 million for the year. I'm like,
yeah.
they're keeping me alive for over $1 million where they could be helping me get a transplant.
Exactly. There's your point. Now you've just hit it. You just finished the interview this early. But that's isn't that the point? But
Yep.
you walked us into what happens to, I would say, a vast majority of people. All right. I mean,
Yep.
this isn't kind of there. It's there. This is
Oh,
the way
yeah.
people are
It's a
treated.
business. That's what
Oh,
it is, which is the
absolutely,
sad part about
absolutely.
it. I mean, again, was fortunate. I had the nurses and techs that cared about me, that
Right.
educated me more than, than the people who should have been educating me. But that's why, when I mentor people now, I'm like, listen, you have to be your own best advocate because
Absolutely.
nobody's going to come and tell you what you don't know, right? Just like the machine that you're on, the dialysis machine. You need to learn exactly what is going on with that machine. And that's why every time I had my session, I had them turn the machine to me so I can watch my numbers.
Yep.
You know your own body. You know, okay, your blood pressure. Okay, it starts off high or whatever. My blood pressure would drop the last hour. I
Yep.
mean, like that. And I could feel it in a heartbeat.
Mm-hmm.
Normally I was on blood pressure medicine. But on dialysis days, I had to not take my blood pressure medicine,
Right.
and I had to take a pill to bring my blood pressure up
Yeah, it's
so I wouldn't
crazy.
pass out.
Yeah.
So, that just shows you how much strain dialysis puts on your heart. Because as we know, dialysis isn't going to be the one to kill you. It's going to be your
Other
heart
body
issues and your
functions. Yeah.
stroke that's going to kill you from all
Absolutely.
that stress.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
And being you mentioned your sister.
Yes.
Was she not able to donate to you?
We didn't go that far because I denied that.
Okay. Do
Yeah.
you think in your well, yeah, well, let's not look back. Let's not. I don't want to do
Yeah.
that. Let's just
Good.
not do
Let's
that.
not look back. Let's
Let's
keep
just go
going.
ahead. Let's go forward.
Yeah.
We know for a fact that at that point in time, if somebody would have stepped up to you and embraced you and said, "Hey, you don't have to wait around for dialysis." Whether it was a doctor, a friend, or somebody at Kidney Solutions, or just somebody says, "Hey, well, why don't you go find a donor?"
Right.
That's the scream that should be happening right now.
Yes. Yeah.
This
And
is
I hope that is the message that centers are, talking about now. I can't
they're not
confirm that
talking about
either way. I mean, I
no.
go to dialysis centers and I speak to patients, and we do have the hospital go in there, and I accompany them, and we speak to the patients about transplant. So at least that part has improved from at least my experience back then.
We
So,
know for fact. We know for fact that the gatekeeper of kidney disease is a nephrologist. Period.
oh,
And
absolutely.
I don't. I'm not going to give them any quarter here. They realize it. They're the ones that speak. Okay, here are your three options.
Right.
You can get a transplant. You can go on dialysis or a
Yep.
combination thereof, or you can just say, "Let's go to palliative care and we'll just
Right.
iron this out and
Write it out. Yep.
we'll just go on." All right.
Yep. Yep.
And so those are two options. You had dialysis, transplant, dialysis, or death.
Yep. That's it.
I mean
Great
that's
options.
yeah, right. I mean, so think about that. So what's the top priority? What gives you the best quality of life right off the bat? It's a transplant.
Right.
We don't have any artificial means of keeping you alive. All of these things
Unfortunately,
out
no.
there are
Yep.
nebulous and best, and they're far from becoming fruitful.
Right.
So
Right.
what you have is transplant.
Yep.
And why would you want to wait until go on dialysis? Every opportunity should be afforded to a patient right off the bat. You have the opportunity to go find a donor, and
Yes.
we'll help you do that.
Yes. Whatever you can do to avoid going to on dialysis, and
Absolutely.
that is on you, the patient, and get your family educated to help you because it takes a village. You can't do it yourself, and you're
No,
sick. So, have your friends, your family, you know, um, advocate for you and help you find someone. It takes a lot of testing. We know that whole testing process is a whole other story. But how many people need to step up before you actually find a match as well.
right.
So
The but the key is if you don't start looking today,
That's
you've
right.
lost a day.
Yep,
If you don't
you're
start
right.
looking for 6 months, you've lost 6 months.
It's
And
a
that's,
long time.
oh, yeah. And it, like I said, that just didn't happen to you. That happens to a lot of people.
Yeah.
I will
Yeah.
give you an example here in my community. We just finished, I finished working with a fella who never saw dialysis. I've worked with 5 or 6 of them here just in my community. All right.
Hmm.
But still, I don't get any referrals from the nephrologist. Okay. So
First off,
I'm
you're
just
putting them out of
saying,
business. Come on.
I'm just saying that is a very sticking point for me. And I don't care. At my age and my longevity, I've been blessed and, I'm right where I need to be. But I don't want this to happen. I don't want this to happen to people. I want them to give that option right off. It should be transplant first, period.
Yeah. Yeah. I
But that's
agree.
not the way the system's set up. We know
I
that.
agree. But it's also them being compliant as well, too.
Well,
So, I mean,
the patient has no idea. You just
well,
said it. You had
well, it's
no clue.
education. It's
Yeah.
education. Yeah. And where are you going to get that?
You
You
get it
have,
from a
you
mentor.
have to be proactive
Right.
just
You
to find it.
right.
And the nephrologist, like you said, should be the one.
That
That's
is the
where it should
gatekeeper.
begin.
That is the
Yep.
guy said, "Hey, listen, you need to find somebody who's experienced
Yep.
this. We have several people on our staff who've been transplanted. You want to talk to
Exactly.
them." That conversation doesn't happen.
Never happens. No, no, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But thank goodness we have so many support groups out there, so many organizations out there
Mm-hmm.
that are advocating for us,
Yeah.
advocating for patients. And, it's just a matter of getting them connected to the right people to have that conversation. If your nephrologist doesn't, you know, the patient needs to know what to ask too.
Sure.
If
Sure.
you have no idea about kidney disease and you don't have any experience with it, you didn't know anybody else who was going through it, you wouldn't know what direction to go. You'd rely on your doctor. And if your doctor doesn't tell you, then what?
Yeah. And
So it's
if you're stuck in that early stage with a GP or
yeah,
someone who's not going to refer you, and then on top of that, nephrologist not taking people unless they're pretty much close to stage 4. Okay, or
yeah,
in stage 4. And that's like that rope that you're holding on to and you're trying to climb up to and
yes,
work your way up. It keeps slipping and slipping and slipping. And
yes,
you
yes,
you need a mentor, and we say that all along. And I
yeah.
wished I'd have
It's
had one.
very important.
Yeah, I wished I'd have had one, and that's kind of why I started this. But I had
Yeah,
a doctor, I had a nephrologist who was a transplant specialist. He said it right out of the box. You don't do well on dialysis, Kent. You won't. You need to find a donor. I mean, see that's the kind of conversation that needs to be said.
right. Exactly.
Well,
I
what
wish
is
I
it that
had
I
that.
didn't know? Yeah, what is
And
it that I
I
don't
didn't
know?
know anyone. I didn't know anyone else who was going through this, who went through it.
No, no.
All I could do is rely on my nurses and the techs at the
Yeah.
dialysis center and my nephrologist. That's all who I relied on at that point.
Well, this
But you
is
live and learn.
yeah. This is that. Like I said, we're moving on here.
Yeah,
This when this gets published, when you share this with your friends and stuff like that, this type of conversation needs to be had. All right,
yes,
period. And
yes,
so you're on the right track. You're in the right lane with what you're doing. I'm glad. Glad to hear that you're mentoring other patients. Educating in the sense doesn't get you anywhere. It's whether or not you can get that individual to do what needs to be done. But if they
right,
don't know, like you said, how do they do
right.
anything?
And you know what? Coming from that place and being a kidney recipient has more effectiveness hearing it from me than hearing it from a doctor
Oh,
who has never
absolutely,
gone through it. So that's
absolutely.
why I go to dialysis centers and I partner with the hospital and I go and I sit with the patients on dialysis. I have to tell you though, when I do walk in the center, where the machines are, it is like a flashback to me.
Oh,
And
you got PTSD, I'm sure.
it does take a
Yeah,
few minutes for me to,
yeah.
get acclimated again because it is a lot that you know, comes over me at that point. But I remember sitting in that chair and I wish I had someone who sat down with me and spoke to me.
Some of my best success over my lifetime of 30 some 39 years working with patients has been the fact that I don't go in the center. I know they're there Monday, Wednesday, and Friday or Tuesday, whatever. I say, okay, when's the first time that you can come down and let's go to coffee or let's go to,
Right.
let's have a Zoom conference or everything. When you think about going into a dialysis center, that's the most difficult place for a person to want to communicate. They want to hear it.
Hmm.
They want to hear it, but that should be short and sweet, in my opinion. I want to spend my time where they're living.
Yeah.
They ain't
Yeah.
living in the dialysis center.
Oh no, I no.
And you know what? Some people think that that's the only option they
Oh,
have, sadly.
absolutely. Absolutely. You keep
Yeah.
doing what you're doing. You
Yeah.
keep doing your, and matter of fact, I want to, I want to talk to you about helping at Kidney Solutions. We have several people looking for donors. We know that, but they're also looking for mentors. They want people
Hmm.
that they can get as much information about.
Yeah.
A support group that we have on Monday nights is running between 39 and 50 people.
That's great.
All
Yeah.
right?
Terrific.
And
Yeah.
we want
We'll talk
people,
offline about that.
yeah, I want to
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I belong to a few other ones as well. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I'm just been so adamant about mentorship.
Yeah.
That's all
It's
I can
big.
talk about, in all
Yeah.
honesty. And my time is limited, and I want to make darn sure that I'm getting as many mentors into the system as I possibly can.
Yeah. Got it. Yep. Yeah.
Um, Tell me
Well,
about your
thank you
three
for doing
books.
that, by the way.
Pardon me?
Thank you. Thank you for doing that.
Oh gosh, yeah, that's not a problem. But this whole thing is that, like I told you before we started, I've already connected with you. You're in the same place that I'm at. All right. You're just a little bit farther behind as far as experience, but that experience is going to come.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like again, I'm always here. My phone's always on. It's
Yeah.
always here. I'm always here.
Yeah.
So tell me about these uh, books that you've written. That I think that's important for people to know. Maybe give yourself some grace here.
How about could we come back to that and talk a little bit about my how I got to the living donation part?
Oh, sure. Let's do it right now.
Yeah,
Let's do it
okay,
right
cool.
now. Yeah.
So,
How did you
yeah,
find a living donor?
yeah, so honestly, I was, and it's my own fault. I was not proactive looking for a living donor. I was, basically, I was sick. I was basically
Mm-hmm.
worried
Mm-hmm.
about, staying compliant, staying on the transplant list. And again, as a diabetic, you have all these other wacky things that happen to your body that can knock you right off of the list. So I was just trying to do what I could do to make it happen. And then one day I went to the hospital to get some blood work, and I went to the same phlebotomist who always took my blood because I'm a hard stick. So she was a one-shot deal. So she knew my story. She knew I was on dialysis. She knew I needed a transplant. And after I left that day, she ran into one of her coworkers, a nurse friend. Her name is Pat. And Pat had been a nurse at the hospital for 40 years. And Pat was telling Beverly, who is my phlebotomist, about this little boy that was on the news and how he was pleading that his daddy needed a kidney. And years ago, Pat had wanted to donate her kidney to one of her patients who always came in, had problems with her fistula, and Pat was called to, offer to donate her kidney to her. She knew she could live off of one kidney. She was a nurse, she was educated. And that never went through. And then this little boy pops up on the news, and Pat was called to, try and test for the father. That didn't go through because imagine this little boy's on the news, overwhelming response. People flooded in and, applied to test for the dad. So they called Pat and told her that they didn't need her, but thank you. So she was telling my phlebotomist this, and my phlebotomist is saying, well, my patient Jean, she just left here. She said she's on kidney dialysis. She needs a transplant. Would you consider donating to her? And she says, absolutely. She says, I have two kidneys. I only need one. Why
Yeah.
not? So my phlebotomist calls me. She leaves a message on my phone. and I'm driving and I get a message, and wherever I was going, I stopped and I listened to the message, and she says, "You're not going to believe this. I know you just left the hospital." She said, "My friend Pat, she's a nurse here. I know her a long time. She's considering donating her kidney to you. You have to call her." Now, I'm in the car and I'm thinking to myself, what the heck? Right? Here I am focused on, the powers above bringing me a donor angel when the timing is right. I'm just trying to be compliant and work and, carry work life and home life and balance everything out. And now this happens, right? So I'm thinking to myself, okay, my sister offered, I declined for that reason. I'd be a fool to not accept this message here. Okay. This is from the powers above. This total stranger, right? Heard my story, not from me even. It's like the ripple effect of sharing your story, right? And she's considering donating to me. Now, I understand it was something that she always wanted to do. So technically she was altruistic donor because she didn't know me. She wanted to donate to me, but not specifically because she knew me, kind of a thing.
Right.
So that it took me a long time to comprehend that part of it. Lucky for me, um, so I did call her. It took me 3 days to, get my head in gear and get the courage to call her because I didn't know what to say. What do you say to someone who wants to save your life? Right? What do you do? Meet them for coffee? I have no idea. I was on dialysis and, my one arm is plugged in. So I called her on my other arm. And as soon as I heard her voice answer the phone, I knew she had my kidney. I don't know how to explain it,
Yep.
but I knew it.
Nope.
And she was so kind and just so loving. And I fired so many questions at her because, a lot of things I didn't understand either. And then at the end, I said, out of all the questions I've asked you, I said, I have one final question. I said, why would you, a total stranger, donate your kidney to me? I said, you don't even know me. She says, Jean, I've been a nurse for 40 years. And out of everything that I've seen in my nursing career, watching someone live off of a machine is the hardest for me. She says, I have two
Amen.
kidneys. I only need one. I just want to give back. And I raised my hand. I'm like, oh my gosh, if this works out, I said, I don't even know how I would thank you for it. So she wanted to meet me, which altruistic donors normally don't want to, but she wanted to take this journey together. So I was sick. I had foot surgery. I had infections. I was a hot mess. So for my own vanity, I was like, okay, we met maybe about 2 months afterwards. But immediately she started, with the transplant coordinator and the whole process and everything. So we met each other. I was there for a routine blood work and I called her. I said, hey, I happen to be here today. Are you available? She came right out. She was like right around the corner and we met and it was an instant connection. I mean, she actually looked like she could be my sister. She
Oh,
looked,
bye. Yeah.
yeah. Um, yeah, so we went through the testing process together. She was a trooper. I'm going to give her 100% credit because she was on it. She was
Yep.
on the phone with that coordinator every day. Okay, how did my test results come out? Because, of course, two of us communicated together, but I couldn't call on her
Nope.
behalf to find out what's going
Nope.
on. She couldn't call to find out what was going on with me. So
Nope.
at least we had that connection where we could share our progress with each other. But I really owe it to her because, you hear horror stories about how long things are taking for people because the transplant coordinators are overwhelmed or whatever the reason.
Yeah.
But in our
Whatever.
case, Pat was on it, right?
Yeah.
And then I had a few complications because obviously I was the sick one. She was in pretty good shape. She had to lose a couple pounds, which was no big deal. She took care of that right away. And we had our final evaluation. It was like in May of 2019. And I was good to go. They gave me the green light. Unfortunately, they found out she had pneumonia, and it was from the paint that they were painting in the hospital. and she got that from the paint. So I'm like, here I am thinking, oh my gosh, now my worst nightmare is coming. Thank God they checked her, because here I my fear, we go into surgery and she's not well enough and she never comes out of the anesthesia, right? So we waited 2 weeks. And oh, I forgot. She had called, how we found out was she had called me, I guess it was in uh maybe April of that year, and she says, "What are you doing on June, whatever date it was?" I'm like, "I don't know. What am I doing?" She says, "Well, don't make any plans because we're getting our transplant. I was approved and I'm a match." And I'm like, "Now, what are the odds? A total stranger, right? Didn't know me. Here's my story, tests for me, and she's a perfect match."
Can't get there unless you test.
Right. But that was like the powers
Wow.
above. I mean, I'm not a religious
Yeah.
person, but I think
Yes, you are.
somewhere upstairs, that was meant to be. And this was like her third time trying to donate. So I was lucky three. And from that point, then we had the final evaluation. They discovered that. So everything was okay because we just waited 2 weeks until everything was cleared. We got final clearance. And then, as you know, they ask questions to the donor up until that moment that
Right
they
till the
knock them
last
out.
minute. Yep.
Yep.
You
So we
can.
are
You
in
don't
the
have to do this. Yeah.
pre-operating room, whatever that was called, and we're lying next to each other, on our own little gurneys, and they have a curtain in between us. And I hear her talking to the doctor, and the doctor's asking her, "Are you sure you're doing this on your own free will? Are you being bribed? Are you being paid to do this? Blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, hello, I'm like right next door here. So, it was confirmation for me too, that everything was good on her side, you know what I mean? That she felt comfortable doing it and it was something that she wanted. And I have to tell you, throughout the whole process, we weren't nervous at all. Seriously, not nervous at all. My aha moment was when I met her in the registration check-in area of the hospital the day of her surgery. When I saw her roll in with her little overnight bag, that's when it hit me. And I'm like, okay, let's go. Because, there's no contract. She could back out at
Oh
any
yeah,
point
she
in
could. Yeah.
time, right? She wasn't a relative. She wasn't family. She was a total stranger. I knew her, but I didn't know her. So she could have backed out at any point. So,
She could have not shown up.
yes. So that was my aha moment. So that was on
Yeah.
June 25th, 2019. Um, Once they rolled us into the operating rooms, they took us into separate operating rooms, which I don't know. I was thinking we would be in the same room, but that was I guess I didn't research enough. And they bring me in this room, and it looked like a closet. I'm like, oh, is this where you're going to prep me before, you take me to the operating room? But like, oh no, honey, this is where your surgery is going to be. Me, I'm visioning like a Grey's Anatomy operating room, this huge room where you have the big glass up on top so people can watch the surgery. Oh no. This was like the size of a closet. So I'm like, oh boy. And the doctor's there. She's like, don't worry, we're going to take good care of you. She pulls me onto the operating table, which was like that big, like 6 inches wide, and my body's like how many inches wide? It's like, don't worry, we got you. So as they're prepping me, I look down at the machine. There's this thing at the end of my feet, and it looked like a silver cooler. And I'm thinking, oh, maybe they have drinks in there or whatever. So it's breathing. It's like moving up and down, up and down. So I'm like, what is that? And they're like, oh, well, that's where we're gonna put Pat's kidney before we put it in you. And as a dialysis patient, if anybody out there knows, you're always freezing. So me, I'm not even under anesthesia yet. I said, could you at least thaw it out before you put it in me because I'm always so cold? Well, that was it. They knocked me out, and that was the end of that. That was surgery. I woke up, in the recovery room, and I woke up and I remembered that I had the surgery. I had surgery, but I didn't remember what happened. What surgery did I have? Like I knew I was in the hospital, and then I was feeling around. I'm like, oh my gosh, I got the kidney transplant. I'm like, oh my gosh. My first thought was Pat. That's the first thing I asked her. Is I didn't even care about me. I said, "How is she?" "Oh, she's awesome. She's all the way down to the hall. She's doing good. She's sleeping." I'm like, "Oh, thank God." Liquid gold was coming out immediately. I couldn't have been more relieved, more blessed at that moment. It kicked
Yeah.
in immediately.
You were
So
blessed.
I was truly blessed, and I knew that. I
Yep.
knew that. And our hospital stay was pretty good. I was one of those people who, yeah, I don't need any painkillers. I feel pretty good, right? I was ready to go. As soon as I woke up, I'm like ready to walk because obviously I was numbed, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And then it started to wear off. And then I had no choice but to take the painkillers. So they gave me Dilaudid, right? The IV, and I was
Yep.
allergic to it. Didn't know that. And I could feel the heat rush from my feet all the way to the top of my head. And then I was nauseous. And the ironic thing was, Pat is walking down. Now they put us in the hospital. Our rooms were not near each other. They do that on purpose because they want you to get up and walk to see each other. She was walking and she was going to come in the room, and I was so sick at that point. She was just like, she must have felt so horrible at that point. But other than that, I was good. I got a numbing shot. I was awesome. She lost a little bit of blood, so they gave her a blood transfusion. And I'm in the room with her when the doctor's telling her, that her hemoglobin dropped a little bit, so they want to give her a transfusion to be precautious. And they come over to me and they're like, "Oh, by the way, you can go home today." And I'm thinking, "No way. I'm leaving her here." I didn't say that to them. I said that to myself. I'm like, "There's no way." I said, "Well, I need to make arrangements and things." Like they pop this on you, like, like someone can just like drop their work or whatever they're doing, and, "Oh, okay, come pick her up today." It doesn't work that way. So I said, "Well, I'm still a little bit in discomfort." Anyway, we both stayed another day and we left together. So that was like really, really
Well, that's
rewarding
great.
for
That's
me.
that's
Yeah.
great.
And we're
What a
still we're sisters, sisters by a kidney,
yeah.
but
Well,
we
you have her
see
kidney.
I have her kidney. I said, no matter,
Not yours,
if
it's
you leave
hers.
me, you will always be a part of me. So
Yeah,
it doesn't
yeah.
matter.
You're always saying
However
that.
you try to get away from me, you're still going to
Yeah,
be a part of me.
you
And
haven't.
we travel together, we see each other often.
Yeah,
And I consider her like a bonus to my transplant because I have a sister now.
yeah.
So,
That boy said that this isn't my kidney. This is my brother's kidney. So I have to religiously take care of it.
yeah. And we named our kidney. Did you
Oh
name your kidney?
no, no. I had no.
We
That's
named
my
our
brother's kidney.
Okay, yeah. We named our kidney because it's our kidney now.
Yeah.
We named it PJ for Patricia and Jean.
There
So
you go.
PJ. Yes.
That some people like to do that, and that's fine. That's okay. That's a
Yes.
great story. I
Yeah.
like I've been transplanted 39 years, like I told you, and I can go back and I can still see that room. I can still see what we did the night before. I can still have so many stories about it. But as you go forward now, and as you're about 6 years out?
It'll be 7 years next month.
Yeah, 7 years. There's an old saying, and Dr. Mulgrew, who my nephrologist, told me this, and he said, "You at 1 year's time, that's where we try to get you. That's where we want that because that's a statistical
Oh yeah.
evaluate. That's a level, that 1 year platform, and then at 5 years, we're really looking at you from a standpoint of now. I think we're good.
Oh
All
yeah. They
right.
kick you out. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
No, but at
basically
15, they forget about you.
uh, yeah. Well, you know what? I still go to my transplant hospital for my
That's fine.
checkups.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still do it. So they tried to get rid of me. I'm like, "Oh no, you can't get rid of me that quick."
Well, if it
So,
comes to that, just make sure that your nephrologist is one
oh
who
yeah.
cares that's a transplant
Yeah.
nephrologist, not just a general nephrologist. That won't work. They
Yeah.
don't like to take. They really don't like to take care of transplant patients because it's just not in their bailiwick. They'd rather take care of the acute area. Just
Hmm.
remember that. If you can
Yeah.
find a
Good
transplant,
advice. Thank you.
yep, yep. there'll be more lasting and you'll be more happy if it comes to that. All right.
Yeah.
And they'll refer you
Thank
to
you.
one
Yeah.
locally.
Good to know.
All
Yeah.
right.
So yeah, so since then, we try to do things together as far as giving back and educating people.
Mm-hmm.
So as I said, we go to dialysis centers. I mostly mentor the patients because I've been through it, but we've gone to like lunch and learns where we educate the team, so the nurses and the techs, and we talk about the voice of the patient, like what the patient goes through while sitting there for 4 hours or 5 hours, whatever it is that they're hooked up to the machine. And, it's 3.5 hours for me, but it was like 5 hours because by the time I got hooked up, by the time I was coherent enough that I could actually leave after the session. So we try and give back that way. We've done symposiums for our transplant hospital, which was St. Barnabas, which is Cooperman Barnabas now in Livingston, New Jersey. Spoke to nurses and staff so they can get their continuing education. Anywhere we go, wherever we can share our story, we
Absolutely.
do. I mean, that's the wonderful thing. NKF, we've been invited to several years to be guest speakers, share our story, many articles in newspapers and magazines. So we just want to get the word out there. And, for me personally, it's just trying to help people because I wish I had someone to help me. Your family is there, but they are
They're
not
not
physically
schooled either.
going through it.
Mm-mm.
You need to talk to someone who's lived it, who's breathed it, who's gone through it, and is still going through it. Because, like you said, transplant is not a cure.
Nope.
And you'd be surprised how many people, even though that's their goal, they still think it's a cure.
Nope.
And you know what? You're going to be in for a rude awakening
Yep.
if that is your attitude, because you need to be compliant. You need to watch your diet. You need to take your immunosuppressant drugs. You need to be really aware of your environment for germs and everything that's going on in this crazy world now. It's not easy being a recipient, right?
Absolutely not.
So, I want to make that very clear because too many people I know think it's a cure, and no, it's not. So,
You're
and you know what? You
you're
want to
exactly
live,
right.
you want to
Absolutely.
preserve that gift that you got. You need to do your part of that and
Yep.
respect it. And respect if you have a living donor or you had an angel donor, respect that gift that you were given. Because not
That,
many people, my 4 friends, did not get that second chance.
that's not your kidney. It's somebody else's.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're just a caretaker for it.
Yeah.
And so that makes you responsible for the rest of your life. All
You're right.
right. You have to. I mean, there's no, well, if I feel a little better, I don't have to take my medicines. Well, that's crazy. It's not true.
Right.
And just
Yeah.
because you're feeling great now, you hit a bump and you're not taking you can lose that kidney at any point in time. That thing can go south on you for the rest of your life. That's how I look at it. So
It's
that
true.
I live my life just as hard as I can to protect my brother's kidney.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
End of story. And that's what you're doing, and that's the right lane for you to be in. You're not in the ditch. You're not in traffic. You're right where you need to be, Gene. This has been a great talk. I
Yeah.
I, I don't know how to thank you enough, but I do know that we're going to connect, and I want to make sure that we connect. So
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, and just quickly, you mentioned the books. I'm
yeah.
a co-author in 3 books. 2 of them are organ donation related. One is Because of Organ Donation. That's by Brenda Cortez. I'm sure you've heard of her and you know of
Hmm.
her. That is 25 stories of recipients, donors, and donor families, and we share our story in there in that collaboration. So Pat and my stories in there, chapter 3. And then Brenda and I also collaborated together and we did a children's book called Howell is Thankful for Kidney Donation. And that is sort of it's an educational children's book. It's very simple though. It was something that the pediatric transplant hospitals were looking for, because let's face it, there's not much education out there. And imagine for a child and their family, and they have no clue what is happening with their child and what they are going through. So it's just about the little girl, her name is Jeannie, which is after me. And, she's going through dialysis, and her friend Hal is trying to help her find a living donor. And in the meanwhile, her aunt is testing for her and surprises her, and then they have their transplant. So it's a very simple book,
Good.
but we have a glossary on the back that has, the big words on it. And it's really, to give hope, to educate the children as well as their parents, and to just give inspiration to those, and to keep fighting and be proactive looking for a living donor, even if it's a
Absolutely.
child. So
Absolutely. And then you also do, we got Voices 19.
Voices 19, yeah, that's a personal book that we did. That's also a collaboration of 19 families who um we lost a loved one to COVID during the pandemic. And unfortunately, I lost my sister. So she's in there.
Okay.
Let's
Good.
leave it on a high note, shall we?
Yeah.
Okay, the Transplant Games of America.
Yes.
You're familiar with them?
Yes.
Okay,
Totally.
awesome. So Pat and I are going next month in Denver. So that is an awesome experience. If anyone out there doesn't know about it or has not gone to it, I strongly encourage you to learn a little bit more about it. And it's competition with recipients and donors across the country. Actually, it's across the world, because there are some foreign countries that are going to be a part of it. But it's not about the competition, it's about community and meeting people and hearing their stories, and especially donor families, and thanking them for the generous gift that their loved one gave. So we're excited, and yeah, that's next month, and that'll be right around the time of our 7th anniversary as well. This will be my third game, Pat's second game.
I was supposed to go during COVID and didn't, so
Yeah,
because it canceled.
yeah.
I've never. I think it's great. I knew the fellow who's developed the whole thing for as a site. So George has been a really good friend of mine. He's been transplanted for I think close to 50 years now. My end point is that I want you to start looking for the goal of making it to the quarter century club.
Oh my gosh, yes.
All right. I've been a member of the quarter century club for 14 years.
Hmm.
And I can tell you that gives people more inspiration than anything you could ever think of.
Oh yeah.
When somebody asks you, well, how long you been transplanted?
Hmm.
And I can say, well, 39 years.
That's right.
And they say, oh, well, how did you do it? That's how do I know? I don't know how I did it. I knew I took care of myself. I knew that I took my medications. I went to doctors. When the doctor said I needed to do this, I did it. All right. I
Hmm.
didn't think I knew more than them. All right.
Good
And
point.
then
Yeah.
the biggest thing is I've worked with a lot of people. I can't even tell you the number right now, but I know right now at Kidney Solutions, we're working with over 700 people.
Wow.
All right.
That's terrific. Yeah.
And that's mentoring at its best. We're not donor hunters, we're mentors.
Hmm.
But my takeaway from this is longevity is up to you. Some people with illnesses such as FSGS or IgA or any of the rare syndromes like I have, the potential for it to come back is always there for the rest of your life. All right. So it makes it real important if you get transplanted that you work really hard to take care of that person's kidney, whether it be family or whether it be a deceased donor, makes no difference. That part of you is the most important thing. You have no other thoughts than to take care of that.
Yeah.
That's
Well
my
said.
takeaway from this whole thing. And
Yeah.
I really appreciate you.
Oh,
This has
awesome.
been a good podcast.
Awesome. Well, I hope people take things away from it. And
Well,
They can feel free to reach out to me at my email or Instagram.
Go ahead and say give us your email.
Yeah, so the email is Jean, Jean, Sime, Sim as in Mary E, 23@gmail.com. And Instagram is share your story _JS.
Okay. Also, if you want to make contact with Jean, all you got to do is get a hold of me at Kidney Solutions, and you know my phone number 830-285-2140. That's my personal phone number, my personal cell, and I'll get back to you. Just leave me a message if I don't answer. So, here's how this all goes. As everybody says, they kind of make fun of me in the support group now. Everything you do has meaning, and the meaning that you're doing something is the fact that you are special. You either given a kidney, you've accepted a kidney as a recipient, but if you have CKD, you know where to come. Kidney Solutions is here for you free. Everything we do is for free. No one's on salary. We don't bill anybody. We're free, totally free. We'll help you find a donor. We'll help you find a donor. But most important, we'll mentor you. We're here at the beginning. We're here during the surgery, if you can, by virtual or in person. But the most important fact is we'll follow you afterwards and support the transplant team in helping you keep your kidney. So
Awesome.
you just get a hold of us. We're here. Until the next time, everybody, keep breathing.